Warning. This video contains graphic language and is not suitable for children. Also, if you are easily offended by vulgar language, now would be a great time to click off. You've been warned. So a couple of days ago, this guy came across my For You page. And this guy has some pretty intense opinions about truck drivers. And while I'm going to give him the time to say what he's got to say and highlight the areas where he actually has some good points, I'm also going to take the time to roast this pig like a Hawaiian luau. Let's go.
Without trucks, America stops. Without trucks, America stops having highways congested by unnecessary heavy vehicles, and we stop having completely avoidable damage to our cars occur because inbred hillbilly fucks don't properly maintain their vehicles. And for the second time in 12 months, some inbred trucker has shredded a tire on the fucking highway right in front of me and damaged my car. If you're someone who insists that trucks are the lifeblood of America's supply lines, fuck you. We have more than enough rail capacity to move goods overland by rail, to the degree that trucking as a shipping method would only need to be used locally or regionally. But the truck industry still exists thanks to lobbyists. The trucking industry, like realtors, is 100% fucking obsolete. Without trucks, we'd stop having overly congested highways and damage to our property due to shoddy maintenance of heavy vehicles. So I went into my settings and opened my comments, and within like 3 minutes, there were a ton of comments on this video. All were some iteration of learn how to drive. Do you understand that when one of these vehicles, because the way that semi-trucks work is that they will retread tires, because brand new tires for 18-wheelers are very expensive, so they will retread. When one of these things comes off, it just lands wherever it's going to land. It's not a matter of driving skill. That's like telling someone, that's like saying if somebody hits a deer, that's like saying, oh, well, you're just a bad driver. Really? Really? Someone's a bad driver because a deer ran across the fucking road in the early morning or early evening at random. They're a bad driver. You know how fucking stupid you sound? This thing came off of a moving vehicle at 70 plus miles an hour and hit my moving vehicle. Do you fucking stand that? It is the dumbest thing in the world to say that a lack of skill contributed to a collision with a random object that should not have been where it was in the first place. I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't, eating while driving. I wasn't trying to read a book. I was driving at 75 miles an hour on an interstate highway, paying attention to what was happening in front of me. And to you vociferous defenders of truckers, go to hell. This shit happens because of poor maintenance practices. Now, I don't know the intervals, but I would imagine that your tires need to be checked and they should be inspected for structural integrity. And don't give me all those, well, the DOT makes us blah, 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 blah. Apparently somebody's not fucking doing it. And it's the second time that it happened to me inside of 12 months. Now that suggests a serious level of incompetence and poor practices in the trucking industry. Because the odds on that are pretty slim.
Pause. You're contradicting yourself on this one because in one sentence you're saying that you were driving behind a moving vehicle and a tire just completely exploded and hit your vehicle and damaged your vehicle. And then you go on to say that a piece of tire just lands where it lands. So was it on the road already or did it blow up in front of you? You were gracious enough to provide us with a picture of the damage of your vehicle. Now let me ask you this. Does this damage look like a piece of shrapnel was just flying through the air and whacked your vehicle? Or does this look more like there was something on the road that you ran over? If there's damage to the bottom fender of your bumper, the ground effects, whatever you want to call them, that isn't damage from something flying through the air and hitting your vehicle. No, that was already on the ground. So which one is it?
So on Friday, I made a couple videos about truckers, and of course, all the butthurt truckers came out of the woodwork because, like cops, the country has spent the last 50 years telling these people that they're more important than they really are, and so now they believe the hype. And as I said in the video, railroads more efficient for long-distance, high-volume transportation. Over-the-road trucking remains essential for short-distance, flexible delivery, and intermodal connections. As I said in my first video, local and regional trucking. Shipping goods. There is no fucking reason for trucks in this country to be shipping goods from coast to coast. It is a waste of fuel. It is a waste of time. It is a waste of labor. And moreover, it causes unnecessary congestion on the highways. You people can Google it yourselves. The cross-country trucking industry is fucking obsolete. And the only reason that the trucking industry exists is because of special interests. Just like police officers, we've spent the last 50 years in this country telling police officers that their number one job is to make it home alive. Not to, uphold the law, not to uphold the Constitution, not to protect and serve the citizens under their charge. The Supreme Court has ruled multiple times that police officers have no lawful duty to protect the citizens under their charge. You know why police officers exist? To protect officials and property of the fucking state. We have spent the last 50 years telling truckers that they're essential to the American economy, that they're critical, that their industry can't be reformed or changed or scaled back or phased out or gotten rid of. So you have a whole segment of people who occupy a completely undeserved space in the American consciousness. Truckers are the most irresponsible, inconsiderate fucking drivers on the road. They think that because they pilot vehicles that weigh as much as houses, they don't have to practice any of the traditional etiquette of the road. They feel like they don't have to abide certain traffic laws. I commute an hour to work back and forth every day. And if I had $1 for every fucking truck that hit the rumble strips on my commute back and forth, I wouldn't have to buy groceries. I wouldn't have to pay for my own groceries for a week. Do not tell me about the integrity and the importance and the skill level of the American trucker, especially when most of these guys are, South Americans or Indians wearing fucking open-toed shoes, track suits, and cheap-ass Bluetooth headsets, and they're driving down the highways watching fucking porn on their phones. Grow up and get over yourselves.
Look, you're always going to be right if you go to imright.com, aka Google. You'll always find something that will tell you that you're correct. For example, is over-the-road necessary? Yes, OTR or over-the-road trucking is necessary and plays a vital role in the modern economy. Oh, all right, let me take a second and address some of the points that he actually has that do need to be addressed within the industry. And the first thing that he actually had a good point on was the recap tires. Anybody who's been trucking for a very minimal amount of time knows that these recap tires are garbage. They're cheap and they stand a risk to cause some significant damage. But here's the thing, over half of the truck drivers that are on the road do not own their own equipment, and even more own their own trucks but not their trailers. And the responsibility of replacing tires is up to the companies that own the equipment. And the average truck driver can't just go around and change out all the tires just because the company puts on a different one than they would prefer. So this is an issue that is about the trucking companies and not the truck drivers themselves. But I completely agree that these tires need to be done away with. Yes, in the short term, they are more cost effective, meaning that they are cheaper to purchase, but the damage that it could do to your vehicle and other vehicles out on the road far supersedes the amount that you will pay on the original purchase. The other point that he made was the over-congestion on the highways. And I get it, semi-trucks take up a lot of space on the highways, but it's not necessarily the cause of congestion. There are several factors that contribute to that. Volume of vehicles is definitely a factor, but drivers driving too slow on the interstate is also an issue. People who don't know how to merge, also people who don't know how to let other people in. And one slight slowdown has a dramatic domino effect later on down the line. And even if it was just cars, there would still be congestion. Let's take a look at this video that explains it a little bit better.
They conducted an experiment in 2008 where 22 cars were equidistantly spaced throughout a 235-meter track. They asked the drivers to start at the same time and accelerate to a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. There were no distractions on the course and traffic flowed really smoothly. For a bit, the distances between the cars started to vary, and soon a cluster of cars started to slow down. This traveled in a wave, causing the cars behind the slowdown to come to almost a complete halt, and congestion flowed backward throughout the loop. So why did that happen? Simply, human error. Drivers in the experiment accelerated differently, kept uneven distance between the cars in front of and behind them, and behaved generally, well, like humans. So essentially the reason a traffic jam occurred in near perfect driving conditions is that we aren't perfect.
So taking semi-trucks out of the equation is not the answer. If you want to completely remove traffic congestion, the only answer to solve that is to take the human out of the equation. Fun fact, railroads existed well before semi-trucks ever did. And if there wasn't a need for semi-trucks, it would have never been started in the first place. The sheer amount of goods that needs to be transported across this country needs more than just railways to get the job done. And speaking of congestions and trains, why don't you take the train to work? Why don't you take the bus to work? If you're so adamant about cutting back on congestion, why don't you do something to make a change? And whether you like it or not, trucking isn't going anywhere. So not only is this guy going after truckers, but he's also going after realtors and police officers. Seems like this guy's got a stick up his ass that he can't get rid of. And anytime he's had a bad experience with anybody, he writes off the entire industry or the entire segment of people. Now, are there bad truck drivers out there? Absolutely. Truckers who could care less about whether you make it home alive or they make it home alive. And these people need to lose their license, and there's no question about that. Just like there's bad police officers that don't need to be carrying a badge. Just like there's bad realtors that'll screw you over at any chance that they get. But you're speaking to the minority, not the majority. I'd venture to say that 90% of truck drivers are the best drivers out on the road. But the unfortunate thing is the negativity is what sells. And you don't get clips of drivers doing their normal thing because it's not what sells. And truck drivers, we're not looking for a pat on the back. We don't need to be regarded in such a high regard. All we ask for is a little bit of common decency and respect. Quit cutting us off. Quit treating us like shit. Our limited interaction is between shippers and receivers who are pissed off that we're either too early or too late, or the cashiers at the truck stops who don't want to be there in the first place, so instead of giving us a smiley face and a small conversation, they would rather give us the attitude because they don't want to be there at work either. Trucker suicide rates are the 4th highest of any other occupation. And why? Because it's assholes like you that would rather complain about truckers than find a creative solution. You're more than happy to receive the product of our work and keep your sausage fingers dripping with Popeye's chicken grease that's too spicy for your soft ass. But when you have to deal with a minor inconvenience like a little bit of traffic, you want to throw a big old temper tantrum about it. Do I think truck drivers are the lifeblood of the country? No. I think Americans are the lifeblood of this country. And we all play an important role for the society to keep on operating the way it's running. The truck drivers, the police officers, the realtors, the nurses, everybody plays an important part. And I hate using the word racist just because somebody disagrees with something that I think. But this asshole completely called out South Americans, Indians, and inbred hillbilly fucks. If that's not racism, I don't know what is. And one of the best parts about trucking is it's one of the most diverse career fields that I've ever been a part of. So yes, truckers can be South Americans, Indians, and inbred hillbilly fucks as you call us. But what we're not is insignificant, unimportant, or obsolete. That phone that you're recording on was brought by a trucker. That house that you're recording in was brought by a trucker. And the ability for you to even share your message was brought to you by a trucker. Because without them, they wouldn't be able to put up the cell towers. There wouldn't be the infrastructure available for you to spread your hate. So before you flap your double chin again, you should consider the fact that there are truck drivers slaving away, spending months at a time away from their families, and battling idiot drivers out on the road every single day just so you can have the modern luxuries that you enjoy. And I think it's absolutely crazy as a master electrician, another blue-collar worker, that you're going to sit here and attack another blue-collar field. All because a piece of rubber damaged your cute little Kia Soul. And if you think trucking is replaceable, it's significantly easier to plug in amperage and voltage into a computer to tell it what to do than what it is to teach a computer how to back up a 53-foot trailer. So it's probably ill-advised to throw stones at glass houses when you could be replaced. So while you're over there bitching and complaining about truck drivers, we'll stay out here working. And we'll keep your pantries full with all the ho-hos your fat fucking mouth can ingest. And I'd advise you get your blood pressure checked because you're running a little hot. Now, I would normally suggest that you guys go over to his page and start blowing up his comments about how ignorant he is. But this ramen-headed beluga whale decided to shut off his comment section. Maybe thinking that he can spew his opinions without the repercussions of others. And being faced with the facts that he's wrong. But it's a free country, and we have freedom of speech, and if you want to give your opinion, I'm more than entitled to give mine. And if you want to give your opinion about this, leave it down in the comment section below. It's open season. I will not withhold any comments. Let them fly. And let's show this dickhead that trucker unity still exists. Fucking Stay Puft Marshmallow Man wants to come at us thinking we won't fire back. All right, bye.